Okay, so this is my most recent arrival. This is a ConStand MD4 motorcycle tyre changer. I also got a deal with the wheel bouncer, because obviously if you're going to change your own tyres, you're going to have to balance the wheels as well. So unfortunately it arrived after I had to get my bike MOT'd. I was hoping it was going to get here before so I could change the tyres and do a video of that, but unfortunately it didn't get here in time. I had to get the tyres done elsewhere. But I may take off the back wheel. I might take the back wheel off using this machine once I've built it, and then put it back on just to show how it works. In the meantime, I'm going to unbox it, and I believe from all the reviews that I read that there aren't any actual instructions included that show you how to put it together. So I shall unpack it all, get the tools out, and then figure out how it all goes together, and then try and do it all in one neat video rather than bodge around for ages and ages putting things in the wrong place. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Okay, so let's see what comes in the box. Boxes in boxes. Okay, so that must be the wheel balancer, and this is the actual tyre changer. So first of all, we'll have a look and see if we can actually find any instructions. So it's well packed in its box, that's not too bad. Yeah, quite pleased with the packaging actually. That's not bad. It's not going to be rattling around. Oh, wait a minute. I was fibbed to. We do have instructions. Let's have a look. Okay, all looks fairly straightforward. So the first thing I'll do is I'll lay everything out and make sure I've got everything that it says that we've got in this first screen. Okay, so it's all unpacked. I've removed all of the bubble wrap off everything, and that's all of the parts. Now there's a little bit of an issue with the nuts, bolts and washers that they're going through in the pack, so I'll talk about that separately after this. But here's the diagram for all the contents. We do have all the contents, and I'll just shrink this little diagram and put it down into the bottom corner. But as we go through it, we've got A, which is this big bar here, B, which is this one there, and then C, which is that. D is one of the, oh well, there's no D actually, it goes straight to E, which is one of the nuts and bolts. Again, we'll deal with that later. And then we've got F, 5F, which is these little sort of screw bolts, wing bolts, however you want to describe them. We've got 2G, which is those there, so there are 2 Gs. We've got H1 and H2, or H1 and H2, I don't know which one's which, but they are sided, so when we come to put it together we'll know which way around they go. Then we get into I and J, which again are bolts and washers, and then we've got K, these little plastic sort of ends, so there are 6 of those. L is another nut. Then we've got M, which is this section here, and you can see it's got the hole towards the end as opposed to this one here where it's about a third of the way up. So we've got that part there, which is M, and then we've got N, which is the actual bead breaker part. Then there's this sort of, it's a bar with a square end, which I believe is a handle that's going to go into one of these things and provide us with the leverage. And then we've got these little silver feet, 4 of them, that's P. Now then we get into R, S and T. So that's these 2 bars and the cone. So this bar, the small shorter bar here, that's the one that actually locks into position and stops the wheel from spinning when you're trying to take the tyre off or put the new tyre on. The longer bar, which is S, goes through the centre of the wheel, screws into the frame, and it sort of locates the wheel, and then obviously the cone slides over that bar and then actually centralises the wheel properly. U is this one here, the one I said before, with the hole about a third of the way up or 2/3 of the way down, whichever way around it is you've got it. And then we finally got W, which is this, I think they call it like a duckbill or something, and that's the bit that actually spins around the rim and lifts the tyre over the rim. And then we've got this X here, which is the last piece, and then on the diagram there's Y and Z, which are more to do with the nuts and bolts again. So that's all the parts, and we'll just have a quick look at the nuts and bolts individual and how I think they work out, and then we'll get round to putting it all together. Okay, so this is the complete set of nuts, bolts and washers that came in the pack, okay, and this is the instructions. Now this shows the contents of the pack. So when we look at the bolts, first of all, we've got 1E, we've got 3I, 3J washers, 1L lock nut, and then there are, there's a Y, and then there are 2 Zs. Now these don't actually align with what we've got here. So where it says there's 1E and the E fits in this part here, I suspect it's this one individual bolt, but it's showing it as a hex head bolt, but it shows all of them. So I suspect that this one is there. Then in the next step of the instructions, it shows here, it says 2I, so you can see there are 2 I's and 2 J's. So the I's are where it says the 3 washers. And then in the next instruction, you can see there's a third I with a J washer and the large lock nut. So I suspect of these 3 bolts here, these are the 3 I's, but you can see one is slightly longer. So I think that's the one individual. So I think it's these 2 that are going to go through there with 2 of the flat washers. And they'll probably screw into captivated nuts. And then this individual one is the longer bolt with a washer and the lock nut. Now I'm not sure, because when I look at everything else, it doesn't show any more washers being used, or it doesn't show any more of these J washers, so I suspect that that might go on underneath the nut. And then in the final instruction here, just move these up and out the way, you can see here it shows the 2 Zs, and it shows 2 bolts, 2 washers, but it doesn't show any other nuts and washers. But I still suspect that that is these 2. Again, we'll have to check on the length and make sure that they go through, that they'll fasten up. But then that leaves us with this bolt. And after I've just shown you everything there doesn't actually appear to be another bolt that's used. So what I'm going to have to do is, as we start assembling it, is to see whether or not all of these things go in where I thought they did, and whether we can find a space where the other bolt might go. So we'll start assembling it and we'll see where we do or we don't get stuck. So we've checked we've got all the parts, we've checked we've got all the nuts and bolts, and we've sort of semi-figured out where they all are. So now we're going to assemble it. So in the first section, it says these are the parts that we're going to use, and you can see I've separated them all. So here's the first section, these are for the first section, this is for the second part of the illustration, this is for the third part of the illustration, and this is for the fourth part of the illustration. The only thing with this is just at the end here you can see this this adjuster screw or this clamp screw and this odd bolt that we were talking about. You can see that they're just put to one side there. Well, the screw is for the last one, but I don't know what the bolt is for. So let's start assembling it. So it says that this slides into here with this bolt to hold it in place. So I'll just pinch that in. Oh, with regards to the tools, all the nuts and bolts, everything that we've got are a mixture of 13, 16, 17 mil and an 8 mil Allen socket or an Allen wrench. Okay, so it says put them into there, and then it says slide this over the bar and slide it all the way down to the end like that. Now, one of the things I did see, it's showing to put the feet on after you've constructed it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to put the feet on before it all starts getting really, really heavy. So I'll put them in, but we'll screw them all the way in so they're not loose and any chance of snapping off if we kick them or something. So there's one. And two. So those feet are actually in the third illustration, the fourth, one, two, three, the fifth illustration, but I'm putting them in now while it's easier and not so heavy. So that's that. So the second illustration, it shows these 2 feet. Now, as I said, they are sided, and I've looked at the drawing and it shows to make sure that the cutouts are at the top, and also you can see, if I bring this a little bit closer, these have actually got captivated nuts welded to them. So that actually comes on this side, and then the 2 bolts that I said were the same size, each with a washer, so they fit through to there, onto that. Well, at least they line up, that's something. And now if I line that up, start the one on that one, start the thread on this one, make sure they're both started before we tighten anything up, and all I'm going to do is just pinch them up finger tight, just to hold everything in place. Okay, so before it gets really, really heavy again, no, I won't put those in just yet, because now it says we have to slide these on. So we slide these on each side. Okay, so you can see that these have also got a captivated nut, one on each side. So it'll be a question of what you want to do, which way round you want to put them. Personally, I'm going to put them so that the actual nut is on the inside. I don't think it really matters too much, but that's my personal preference. So make sure that the pad that the wheel rim is going to rest on is towards the rear, and then slide it on. Okay, same on the other side, and then it's these little lock nuts. I really should find out what they are called. They're basically what will pinch it and hold it in place, and I've put them in so that they're basically inside the frame as much as possible, so they're not going to get kicked or tripped on. Okay, so that's those in, and now those are in, I'm just going to put that in and just gently clamp it in place. Same with this one for now, just clamp it in place, and again, while it's a little bit easier, put the foot in. So that's in, and that's in. Okay, so third part shows all of these here. So it shows that this, okay, so it does show it going into the top hole. So for now I will do that. Now obviously this is a variable height. Okay, so there's 3 holes in this, so obviously this will go at various heights depending on the thickness of your wheel. So this will be something that you will adjust at the time you come to change the tyre, depending on what wheel it is you're going to be changing the tyre on. So I'm just going to put it into the top one for now. So I've done that, and this has got a washer on each side and the lock nut. Okay, again, I'm not going to tighten it right up, I'll just pinch it up. Then it shows, so then this is the bead breaker. Okay, and when you put the bead breaker, if you notice it, you can see that it's got a slight sort of bow and angle, so make sure that runs in the same direction as the wheel. So the bow should be like this, so that when the wheel's on, it will go around the wheel rim. If you have it this way, the wrong way around, then obviously this point here is going to be hitting the rim. Well, that's the only point you're going to do it, and these will actually be sticking onto the tyre, so make sure you put it on the right way around. Okay, so when you put it on, make sure that it bows and conforms to where the wheel will go. So that just pops onto there. It's got one of these which will basically hold it in place, and again, that's adjustable depending on the size of the wheel. So wherever the bead is on whichever wheel you're trying to break, you'll just slide that along till it's in the correct place and then pinch it up with this pinch bolt. And then it says this thing, it's got holes in there, but there are no holes in this. So this will basically just go in, and you can use that for the leverage when you're breaking the bead. Okay, so I'll leave that as it is for now. And then it only shows one, but it shows these caps, and these caps seem to just go in at the ends, and basically it just finishes off the tube so that you can't see it. If you can see it from this camera here, they just, wow, it's a tight fit. And that just pushes in till it's a nice clean looking end there. Now there are 6 of them, so I'm assuming it's going to be one there, one here, that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Although one could go in there, who knows. It's only cosmetic, so I'm not really that bothered about it. So then we finally come on to the last diagram. So we've already put the feet in. So what will happen is, okay, so that will be out of the way while we put the tyre into place. The tyre will come into place. This bar will go on top. So the big silver rod will screw into here. The wheel will go over there, and then you'll use the wedge, and the wedge will go and centralize the wheel. These will be adjusted so that the wheel rim sits on there, so you're not scratching the rim. The same with this, because this will slide backwards and forwards where you need it to go. And then obviously, it says obviously there is a pinch bolt, pinch clamp that goes in there that will hold that in place to stop it sliding backwards and forwards. With this bar, that sits. I'm going to take this bar out. I wasn't going to, but might as well, so it demonstrates. So that will screw into there. The wheel will then fit over that and sit down on these pads here. They're plastic, but you might want to put a cloth or something softer on there just to help make sure that you don't scratch or damage the rims. So the wheel goes over, rests on these. Then the wedge will go over the top of that, sit into the bearing or the bearing carrier or the seal carrier on the wheel and centralize the wheel. This will then go over the top and sit on top of that. And on the end of here, we will be fitting this. And again, you can see that this will also slide backwards and forwards depending on the size of the wheel. So that will also have one of these clamp bolts in. So I'll just put that in now to hold it in place. And then finally, we have this. Now I can see, if I come to the camera again, you can see here, let me get this side so I can actually see what's going on. So you can see here, it's got this shape, this elongated sort of diamond shape, and you can see that the tool or that bracket has that. So obviously that helps to align it into here and snap it into place. So I'll just do that. Get back in camera so you can see me struggling. So we'll get that. It is very tight. It is tight, but it does go. It does actually fit. And when that's in place, this is where I now think that these two nuts and bolts go. Now, which way round? I would suggest I'll see how tight a fit it is, but you can see it's in place now. It's quite snug. Okay, so I'll feed it through the top first. Right, if we feed the bolt through the top, it doesn't actually extend too far underneath. I was worried about it maybe catching anything, but I think that that's well clear of the rim. If you're unsure, fit it the other way, and then you know that if you're unsure, fit it the other way, and then you know the bolt head will lie flush underneath here. Okay, but I think this will be okay. So okay, so the washer doesn't quite fit in. Oh yeah, there we go. And then the nut onto the nut onto there. So you can see that will sit quite flush. Same thing on the other side. So basically now, at this point, imagine I've got the wheel on there. What will happen is you'll have this out of the way to start with. The wheel will go on. You'll adjust these so that they sit underneath the rim of the wheel. You bring the bead breaker out. Let's take this out so we haven't got a big bar floating around ready to drop on the wheel. We adjust the bead breaker so it sits on the rim. Again, remember you can adjust the height of this up and down depending on the size of the wheel. Obviously a front wheel is going to be a lot slimmer than a rear wheel, especially on a sport bike. Okay, so you'll be able to adjust the height. Slide this in until it fits onto the rim, ready to break the bead. You would pinch that up, get your big bar, come in, pop, break the bead, spin it around, pop, bead, spin it around, pop, break the bead. Once that's done, turn the wheel over, do the same thing on the other side, and this can now come out of the way, stay back out of the way there. This now goes over on top of the wheel. Remember, you would have the wedge underneath this, centralizing the wheel. And then this bar, again, I wasn't going to take it out, but I might as well just quickly for demonstration purposes. This bar then, you would spin the wheel and put this into here, which locks into place and would fit up against one of the wheel spokes, and that stops the wheel turning as you're trying to use this. So then with a tyre lever, you've got the tyre loose, you lever it up over to this point, loads and loads and loads of lubrication, and then you would use this bar. And I suggest when you come to take the tyre off, I will show this when I do the video for the tyre. Yeah, you'll lever it over, have this tool here, and have this as close as you can to the bead breaker, but to this side of the bead breaker, and then that way you've got all of that distance to travel to lever it. Yeah, but again, I'll make a separate video. So effectively, that's how it all goes together. Just need to tighten up all of the bolts, and we just need to then fit all of the little blanking plugs so it looks nice and tidy. And that's the tool, and that'll actually, when you take these bars out, that'll probably stand up and store away quite well. If you have a look at it sideways on, that's actually quite a slim profile. You could even, no, that bit won't come off, but that's quite a slim profile there, if you can see that. I mean, it's not even a foot wide. You could even possibly hang it up on the wall if you've got space. So that won't take a lot of room to store wherever you decide to put it, so you don't need to strip it down all the time. So that's the ConStand tyre changer. Okay, that's all for now. If you liked the video, then leave a like. If you didn't like the video, then leave a dislike. Either way, leave a comment, suggestion, or any questions you may have in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any of my future content. Once again, thanks for watching.